After my wife Helen took her last breath, I sat beside her hospital bed for 2 hours before I told the nurse she was gone. I was not ready. I do not think any man is ever ready to let go of the woman he loved for 41 years. But the machines had stopped beeping, and the room was quiet, and I knew she was gone. And I was alone. The funeral was on a Tuesday. Overcast sky, the kind of gray that sits heavy on your chest. We buried her at Maplewood Cemetery just outside Knoxville, beneath a dogwood tree she had always admired when we drove past on Sunday mornings. Pastor Mitchell read from Psalms. He spoke about peace, about heaven, about how Helen was resting now. I stood there in my black suit and nodded at the right moments, but I was somewhere far away. Somewhere 41 years deep, where Helen was still young and laughing and alive. My son Tyler stood behind me. He had driven in from Nashville the night before, pressed suit, expensive watch, shoes that had never touched dirt. He ran a real estate development company now. Made more money in a month than I made in a year, back when I ran the auto repair shop. He put his hand on my shoulder during the service, but it felt mechanical, like a gesture he had rehearsed in the mirror. After the burial, people gathered at our house. Neighbors brought casseroles and pie. Friends told stories about Helen. Tyler stayed for exactly 45 minutes. I watched him check his phone 11 times. Then he pulled me aside in the hallway. "Dad," he said, "we need to discuss the house. The property taxes alone on this place are costing you more than it is worth." I stared at him. "Your mother is not even cold in the ground." "Tyler," he sighed, "I am being practical. Someone has to be." "Not today," I said. He looked at me, the way he always looked at me, like I was something to be managed. "Fine," he said, "but we are having this conversation soon." He left without saying goodbye to anyone. That night, I sat in the kitchen alone. Her coffee mug, the blue one with the chipped handle, was sitting in the dish rack where she had left it 3 weeks ago before the hospital admitted her for the last time. I could not bring myself to move it. I could not bring myself to move anything. 3 days passed. I barely ate. I barely slept. I wandered through the house like a ghost, touching her things, smelling her sweaters, sitting in her chair. And then on the 4th morning, I decided I had to start going through her belongings. Not because I wanted to, because I knew if I did not start now, I never would. I began with the bedroom closet. Dresses, blouses, the green cardigan she wore every autumn. I folded each piece carefully and set them in boxes. Then I moved to her nightstand. Reading glasses, hand lotion, a small leather Bible with her name embossed on the cover. I opened it and found a dried wildflower pressed between the pages of Corinthians. I held it for a long time, and then I saw the cedar chest. It sat at the back of the closet, behind a stack of shoeboxes. I had seen it before, of course. It had been there for as long as I could remember. But Helen had made me promise, years ago, that I would never open it. I remember the conversation clearly. It was maybe 5 or 6 years into our marriage. I had been rearranging the closet and reached for the chest. Helen grabbed my wrist. Her grip was tight, almost desperate. "Robert," she said, "please do not open that." I looked at her, confused. "What is in it?" "Just old things," she said quickly. "Things from before. Things I need to keep private. Please promise me you will not open it." She had tears in her eyes, not falling, just sitting there, waiting. Whatever was in that chest mattered to her more than I could understand. So I promised. I promised her the way a man promises the woman he loves, without questions, without conditions. For 41 years, I kept that promise. I never touched the chest. I never asked about it again. Helen trusted me, and I honored that trust. But Helen was gone now, and I was staring at the cedar chest with trembling hands and a heart full of questions. I pulled it out of the closet and set it on the bed. It was heavier than I expected. There was a small brass latch on the front. No lock, just a simple clasp. My fingers hovered over it. I could hear Helen's voice in my head. "Promise me. Robert, promise me." I closed my eyes. I am sorry, Helen, I whispered. But I need to understand. I opened the chest. Inside, everything was arranged with care. A stack of letters tied with a white ribbon, a small envelope, and beneath them, a leather journal, dark brown, soft with age. The kind you buy at a stationery shop and fill with things too heavy to say out loud. I picked up the journal first. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. I opened it to the first page. Helen's handwriting. Neat. Careful. The way she always wrote. Robert, if you are reading this, then I have already gone. And I owe you the truth. I was never brave enough to tell you while I was alive. I need you to know about Lily. I stopped breathing. Lily. I read the name 3 times. It meant nothing to me. I had never heard Helen mention anyone named Lily. Not once, in 41 years. I turned the page. She wrote about being 17 years old, a senior in high school in a small town called Whitfield, about 60 miles south of where we live now. She wrote about a boy she dated that summer, a boy whose name she never mentioned in the journal. She just called him a chapter I closed too soon. She got pregnant in August, 3 weeks before school started. When she told her mother slapped her across the face and told her she had 2 choices: give the baby away or get out of this house and never come back. Helen was 17. She had no car, no money, no one to turn to. So she carried the baby in secret, wearing loose clothes, skipping school when the sickness was bad. In March, she gave birth at a clinic 2 counties away. A girl. She named her Lily. She held her for 1 hour. She counted her fingers. She kissed her forehead. She whispered, "I am sorry," more times than she could remember. And then a woman from the adoption agency came and took Lily away. Helen never saw her again, but she never stopped looking. Tucked beneath the journal were the letters. Dozens of them. Reports from a woman named Patricia Dawson, a private investigator Helen had hired when she was in her 30s. Every few months, Patricia sent an update. Lily was adopted by a couple in Chattanooga. Lily started kindergarten. Lily played softball in middle school. Lily graduated high school with honors. Lily went to nursing school. Lily married a man named Greg. Lily had a daughter named Sophie. And then, about 12 years ago, the updates took a darker turn. Greg left. Lily was raising Sophie alone. She lost her house. She moved into a small apartment. She worked double shifts at a hospital to pay the bills. She was struggling. The last letter in the stack was dated just 2 months before Helen died. It included an address, 1847, Birchwood Lane, Apartment 4B, Dalton, Georgia, about 3 hours south of Knoxville. And clipped to the letter was a photograph. I held it up to the light. A woman in her early 40s, standing outside a brick apartment building. She had dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, tired eyes, and a posture that said she had been carrying the weight of the world for too long. She was wearing blue hospital scrubs and holding the hand of a little girl, maybe 10 years old, with blonde curls and a gap-toothed smile. On the back, in Patricia's handwriting, it said Lily and Sophie, last spring. I stared at that photograph for a long time. Lily had Helen's jawline, her cheekbones, the way she tilted her head slightly to the left when she stood still. I had looked at Helen's face every day for 41 years. I knew it better than my own. And now, I was looking at a stranger with the same face. The last page of the journal was the hardest to read. "Robert," Helen wrote, "I know I should have told you. I know you deserved the truth. But I was terrified. I thought you would see me differently. I thought you would think I was broken, or damaged, or not the woman you married. So I hid her. I hid my own daughter in a cedar chest at the back of a closet, and I pretended she did not exist. But she does exist, Robert. She is out there right now. And she is struggling. And she has no idea that her mother loved her every single day for 42 years. Please find her. Please tell her. She was never unwanted. Please give her and Sophie a place in our family. You have the biggest heart of any man I have ever known. I am trusting you with this because I know you will do what I could not." I closed the journal. I pressed it against my chest and I cried. not the quiet, controlled tears I had shed at the funeral. These were the kind that come from somewhere deep and old, the kind that shake your whole body and leave you gasping. I cried for Helen. I cried for Lily. I cried for 42 years of silence and secrets, and a mother who loved her daughter from the shadows and never found the courage to step into the light. I sat on that bed for 3 hours. The sun moved across the room. Shadows shifted on the walls. I read the journal again and again. And by the time the sun went down, I had made my decision. The next morning, I got in my truck and drove south. The drive to Dalton took just under 3 hours. I spent most of it rehearsing what I was going to say, and none of it sounded right. How do you knock on a stranger's door and tell her that her birth mother loved her all along, that she watched her grow up from a distance, paid someone to send photographs, and then died with her name on her lips? Every version I rehearsed sounded either crazy or cruel. I found Birchwood Lane around noon. It was a quiet street, lined with aging apartment buildings. Number 1847 was brick, 3 stories, with a small patch of grass out front that needed mowing. I parked across the street and sat there for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady my nerves. Then I saw her. Lily came out the front door in her scrubs, holding a lunchbox and a set of car keys. She walked quickly, head down, the way people walk when they are running late and used to it. She got into an old sedan with a cracked tail light and drove away. I waited. I came back the next day, and the day after that. On the 3rd day, I finally knocked. She answered the door with Sophie behind her, peeking around her mother's leg. "Can I help you?" Lily said. She looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes. A coffee stain on her sleeve. "My name is Robert Calloway," I said. "I was married to a woman named Helen." Lily frowned. "I am sorry. I do not know anyone named Helen." I took a deep breath. "She was your mother," I said. "Your birth mother. She gave you up when she was 17. She spent the rest of her life watching over you. She passed away 6 weeks ago, and she asked me to find you." Lily did not move. She did not blink. She stood in that doorway like the ground had just cracked beneath her feet. Sophie tugged on her sleeve. "Mama?" Lily looked down at her daughter, then back at me. "I think you should come inside," she said quietly. "I spent 3 hours in that apartment." I showed Lily the journal. I showed her the letters, the photographs, every scrap of evidence that Helen had kept. Lily read them slowly, carefully, the way someone reads a letter they have been waiting for their whole life. She cried. Sophie sat beside her, holding her hand, not understanding but knowing her mother needed her. When Lily finished reading, she looked at me. "She was real," she whispered. "My mother was real. She was not some stranger who threw me away. She was real, and she loved me." "She was real," I said. "And she loved you more than you will ever know." That evening, I drove home with a feeling in my chest I had not felt in weeks. Something warm, something close to hope. Lily had agreed to visit the farm the following weekend. She would bring Sophie. I would show them Helen's garden, the house, the life Helen had built. But I had forgotten about Tyler. He showed up 2 days later, unannounced, the way he always did. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard his car pull into the driveway. He walked in without knocking. "Dad, I got your message about this weekend," he said. "Who exactly is visiting?" I told him. I told him everything. About the cedar chest, the journal, Lily, Sophie. I told him what Helen had asked me to do. Tyler stood in the middle of the kitchen, perfectly still, his face going through stages like weather, confusion, disbelief, and then something cold settled behind his eyes. "You are telling me," he said slowly, "that Mom had a daughter she never told us about. And now, you want to bring this woman and her kid into our lives, into our home, into our family. She is your sister, Tyler. She is not my sister," he said, his voice hard. "She is a stranger with a sad story and you are falling for it. Have you verified any of this? Did you get a DNA test? Did you talk to a lawyer? I have her journal, Tyler. I have 42 years of letters and photographs. She is not a con artist. He laughed bitterly. Dad, you are 63 years old, and you are grieving. You are not thinking clearly. This woman shows up with a sob story, and you are ready to hand her everything. This is not about money, I said. This is about family. Everything is about money, Tyler said. And this house, this land, Mom's savings, that is my inheritance. I am not splitting it with some stranger who never spent a single day caring for Mom while she was dying. The words hit me like a fist. Tyler had visited Helen exactly 4 times during her final months. 4 times in 6 months. And now he was talking about inheritance like he had earned it. Tyler, I said, my voice low. Your mother asked me to do this. I am going to honor her wish. He stared at me. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. We will see about that. Lily and Sophie came that weekend. Sophie ran through the garden like she had never seen open space before. Lily stood on the porch, touching the railing, looking out at the hills, tears running down her face. She looks so much like your mother, my neighbor Martha said when she stopped by. I smiled. For 2 weeks, everything was good. Lily drove up on weekends. She helped me in the garden. She cooked Helen's recipes from the old cookbook I found in the pantry. Sophie followed me around the property, asking 1,000 questions about the chickens and the creek and the old tire swing. I started to feel something I had not felt since Helen passed. I started to feel like I had a family again. And then, the trouble started. First, it was the lawyer's letter. Tyler had filed a petition, claiming I was mentally unfit to manage my own estate. He cited grief-induced impairment. He wanted a court to appoint him as conservator of my finances. When I read the letter, my hands shook. My own son was trying to take away my right to make my own decisions. I called Tyler. He answered on the second ring, calm as always. It is for your own protection, Dad, he said. You are making irrational decisions. You are inviting strangers into your home. Someone needs to step in before you give away everything Mom worked for. I am not giving away anything, I said. And Lily is not a stranger. She is your mother's daughter. She is a stranger to me, Tyler said, and she will be treated like one. The petition was dismissed. My doctor, my lawyer, and 2 neighbors testified that I was perfectly capable of managing my affairs. But the damage was done. Lily heard about it. She called me that night, her voice small and guilty. Robert, maybe I should stop coming. I am causing problems between you and your son. You are not causing anything, I said. Tyler is causing this, and I am not going to let him push you away. But Tyler was just getting started. 2 weeks later, Lily called me in tears. Someone had reported her to Child Protective Services. An anonymous tip claiming she was neglecting Sophie. CPS showed up at her apartment and interviewed Sophie at school. The case was unfounded and closed within a week. But the humiliation, the fear of losing her daughter, it broke something in Lily. I knew it was Tyler. I could not prove it, but I knew. I drove to Nashville and confronted him at his office. He sat behind his mahogany desk and smiled. You have no evidence it was me, he said. And even if you did, anonymous tips are protected. He leaned forward. Dad, I am trying to protect this family. Our family, not hers. I left his office feeling sick. The next month, Lily's car broke down. She could not afford to fix it, so I offered to buy her a used one. The next day, Tyler called. If you spend $1 of the family estate on that woman, I will take you to court for elder financial abuse. She is manipulating you, Dad. Can you not see that? I hung up on him. Then came the night that changed everything. It was late October. Lily and Sophie were visiting for the weekend. Sophie had been begging me to take her fishing at the pond behind the property. I promised her we would go Saturday morning. That Friday night, I went to bed early. Lily and Sophie were sleeping in the guest bedroom. The house was quiet, peaceful. At 3 a.m., I woke to a sound I could not place, a grinding, mechanical noise coming from outside. I got out of bed and looked through the window. I saw headlights by the pond. Someone was out there. I grabbed my jacket and flashlight and walked outside. The air was cold, sharp. When I reached the pond, my flashlight caught something that stopped me dead. Someone had driven a vehicle onto the wooden dock, the old dock I had built 20 years ago. The weight had cracked the planks. Half the dock was submerged, and the vehicle was gone. Tracks leading back to the road. The next morning, Sophie ran toward the pond before I could stop her. She was on the damaged dock before I even saw her move. Lily screamed her name. The weakened planks gave way, and Sophie plunged into the water. The pond was not deep, maybe 4 feet near the dock, but Sophie was 10 years old and small, and the water was ice cold. She went under. Lily ran, but she was 50 yards behind, and then, from nowhere, Tyler appeared. He had been parked on the road near the property. I did not know why he was there. I did not have time to ask. He sprinted past all of us, fully clothed, and dove into the pond. He reached Sophie in seconds. He pulled her up, coughing and gasping, and carried her to the bank. He wrapped his jacket around her and held her until she stopped shaking. Lily dropped to her knees beside them, sobbing, pulling Sophie into her arms. Tyler stood up, soaking wet, his face white. He looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I had not seen in months. Terror. Real terror. Not for himself. For Sophie. That evening, after the paramedics checked Sophie and confirmed she was fine, after Lily had calmed down and Sophie was asleep on the couch wrapped in blankets, I sat Tyler down at the kitchen table. I asked him one question. "Were you the one who drove onto that dock?" He did not answer right away. He stared at the table, water still dripping from his hair. Then he nodded. "I just wanted to damage it," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "I wanted to make the pond unusable, so Sophie would stop coming here, so Lily would stop coming. I did not think anyone would be on it. I swear, Dad, I did not think Sophie would." He could not finish the sentence. He put his face in his hands and sobbed. I sat there and watched my son break apart. The man who had filed petitions and made anonymous calls and tried every legal trick he knew to push Lily away, that man was gone. In his place was a terrified 8-year-old who had almost gotten a child killed because of his own jealousy. "You could have killed her," I said. "I know," he whispered. "I know." We sat in silence for a long time. Then Tyler looked up at me, his eyes swollen and red. "Dad, I have been so afraid. Afraid of losing you. Afraid that Mom loved someone else more than she loved me. Afraid that Lily would take my place. And I let that fear turn me into someone I do not recognize." I reached across the table and took his hand. "Your mother loved you, Tyler. She loved you from the moment you were born until the moment she died. But she also loved Lily. She loved a daughter she never got to hold again after that first hour. Those two loves do not cancel each other out. There was room for both. There was always room for both." Tyler broke down again. "I am sorry," he said. "I am so sorry." The next morning, Tyler asked to speak with Lily. They sat on the porch, the same porch where Helen used to drink her coffee, and he apologized. He told her everything. The lawyer's petition, the CPS report, the doc. He held nothing back. Lily listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. "You hurt me," she said. "You hurt my daughter. I do not know if I can forgive you right now." Tyler nodded. "I understand. I do not deserve your forgiveness. I just want you to know that I am going to earn it if you let me." Lily looked at him, then at me, then at Sophie, who was sitting in the yard making a crown out of fallen leaves. She turned back to Tyler. "My daughter almost drowned because of you, but she is alive because of you, too. I do not know what to do with that, so I am going to sit with it for a while, and you are going to give me the time I need." Tyler agreed. He turned himself in to the local sheriff that afternoon and confessed to everything. The property damage, the false CPS report, the doc. He faced charges. He accepted them without a fight. The judge gave him 2 years of probation, 400 hours of community service, mandatory counseling, and full restitution. It was not fast. It was not clean. It was not the kind of forgiveness you see in movies, where everyone hugs and the music swells and the credits roll. It was slow, messy, painful work, but it was real. Over the next year, Tyler completed every hour of community service. He went to counseling every week. He called Lily once a month, never pushing, never demanding, just checking in. And slowly, carefully, the distance between them began to shrink. 1 year later, on the anniversary of Helen's passing, I stood at her grave with both of my children beside me. Tyler, on my left. Lily, on my right. Sophie was placing wildflowers on the headstone, the same kind Helen used to press in her Bible. I looked at my daughter. She was stronger now. She had moved to a better apartment. She had been promoted at the hospital. Sophie was thriving in school. I looked at my son. He was quieter now, humbler. The arrogance that had once defined him had been replaced by something steadier, something earned. Helen, I said quietly, looking at the headstone. You kept a secret for 42 years. It nearly tore this family apart. But it also brought us together in a way I never expected. I paused, my throat tight. You gave me a daughter I did not know I needed. You gave Tyler a sister who taught him what family really means. And you gave Lily and Sophie a home. I wish you had trusted me enough to tell me while you were alive. I wish you could have seen this. But I think maybe you can. And I hope you are proud. Tyler put his hand on my shoulder. Lily took my arm. Sophie looked up at me with those bright eyes and said, Grandpa, do you think Grandma Helen can see the flowers? I smiled. I think she can, sweetheart. I think she can see everything. We walked back to the house together. The kitchen smelled like roast chicken and baked apples, the recipes Helen had left behind. The table was set for 4. Sophie had made place cards with crayon drawings on them. One of them, at the empty chair, said Grandma Helen, with a picture of a woman surrounded by stars. We sat down. We held hands, and I said a prayer. Lord, I began. Thank you for second chances. Thank you for showing us that family is not about blood or inheritance or who was here first. It is about love. It is about choosing each other, especially when it is hard, especially when we do not deserve it. I looked at Tyler. I looked at Lily. I looked at Sophie. We are a family, I said, all of us, and we are going to be okay. Amen, they said together. And for the first time since Helen died, I believed it. If you are listening to this story right now, I want you to hear me. Every family has secrets. Every family has scars. And I know some of you are carrying pain so deep you do not even talk about it anymore. Maybe someone kept something from you. Maybe someone hurt you. Maybe you are the one who did the hurting, and you do not know how to come back from it. I am here to tell you there is a way back. It is not easy. It is not quick, and it will cost you more than you think. But it starts with the truth. It starts with one honest conversation, one open door, one hand reaching across the distance. Helen kept her secret because she was afraid. Tyler lashed out because he was afraid. Lily almost walked away because she was afraid. Fear almost destroyed us. But love, the stubborn, imperfect, never give up kind of love, that is what saved us. Do not let fear win. Not today. Not in your family. Not in your life. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment and tell me where you are listening from. Share your story. You never know who needs to hear it. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you do not miss the next one. And remember, God does not waste your pain. He redeems it. Thank you for staying until the end. God bless you and your family.